Hey, what's up guys? I'm Thomas Brooks, the developer of lithophanemaker.com, and I have in front of me here several different kinds of Christmas-themed lithophanes. In the back I have Christmas tree lithophanes, and these are lamps. You can set them on the table. They look good under regular lighting, and I have them made out of 3 different materials. This one is Solutech Green PLA. This one is a Green Gate 3D PETG white. This one is eSun Cool White PLA. And then also in front of those I have 2 different kinds of ornaments. I have a spherical ornament and I have a Christmas tree shaped ornament. And they're both lit by tea lights, so they don't put out as much light, and they're a little bit harder to see in a regular room, but they look great underneath the tree. And of course behind me I have some other lithophanes that you might be interested in just as gifts for your friends and relatives. So now let me show you how to make these lithophanes right here, right now. So the first thing that I did when creating the Christmas tree lamp was create a good image for the lamp. The lamp will shrink to have a size of 0 at the very top, so you'll get a lot of distortion near the top, and I put this border at the top to make that distortion more palatable. I also widened the cross here because I know that it will shrink horizontally, so by widening it I am somewhat offsetting for the shrinking that I know is going to happen. So here we are at lithophanemaker.com, and I've already uploaded my picture by clicking on this button, finding the picture, and then selecting it. And I set in the lithophane resolution that I want. What's very important is to make the top diameter of this 0 so that at the very top it all converges to the tip of a tree. And I made the bottom diameter 150 just because I like that size. Scrolling down you can see that I do have a little bit of curvature in it by making the number of waves equal to 1, and the size of the wave is fairly small, so it's just a little bit of curvature. This is the height I selected to get the size that I wanted to match my picture, and to make sure that the bulb could go all the way up into the lithophane Christmas tree. Here's the base width and height I selected. That determines how large the frame is down here. This is the overhang angle, but with a lampshade that has been distorted this much, where the top and the bottom diameter are so much different, and you have some curvature on it, this overhang angle is no longer accurate. As you can see, the overhang never gets anywhere near 45 degrees at the top of the frame. I made the maximum thickness a little bit smaller than I would normally use because this is going to be for the green Christmas tree lamp. I made the minimum thickness 0.8. I've decided to use a little bit higher of a minimum thickness than I used to because a higher minimum thickness makes it so that the printer extrudes more for each time that it retracts, and it doesn't have to reduce the line width as often as it otherwise would have to, which some slicers will do. I made it so that the spacing between each picture was 0 and the spacing brightness 0, and now everything's good. You can see that my picture is perfectly cropped because I selected diameters and a height that would make it basically perfectly fit. Now I just scroll all the way down to the bottom and I hit Create STL. So you can see that the STL has been created and put into a zipped folder. Inside of the zipped folder you will also get the settings that you use to create the STL file. From there you just slice it and then print it. When printing these, you want to make sure that the lithophane's surface is completely filled in. So you can use either 100% infill, or you can use enough perimeters to make the lithophane surface that the light goes through be completely solid. You also probably want to print a little bit slower than you normally would, and use a layer height that is about 1/4 of the diameter of your nozzle. For the line width, I use 1.25 times my nozzle's diameter because I do not like to stress the hot end out by making it try to eke out less filament than it can optimally eke out. I think that pushing to minimize that line width can cause some printer problems. And besides that, my best advice for you is to join the lithophanemaker.com users group on Facebook and to ask around. There are a lot of people on there that have printed many lithophanes and know exactly what they're doing. So now it's time to make the Christmas tree ornament. You can see that I've already uploaded the picture I want right here. Right here you can select whether or not you want a top hole, and the top hole is used to hang the lithophane from a paper clip on your Christmas tree. So if you plan on it being an ornament, then I recommend that you keep this hole checked. Below it you have the circular light clamp option. And what this does is it allows you to clamp a tea light to the back of your lithophane, and I find this to be highly useful. So again, I recommend keeping that. And below that you have the light reflector option, which gives you this cape on the back of the lithophane that maximizes the amount of light that's reflected from the tea light up through the lithophane surface. And again, I think that's very useful. I'd estimate that it just about doubles the amount of light getting through. So then below that, of course, you have the lithophane resolution, which I think most people are used to. Basically, a lower number gives you finer detail on your lithophane surface, but it also makes the file significantly larger. So if you were to have this number, it would quadruple the file size, which can really cause a lot of computers trouble when they're trying to slice one of these lithophanes, because these lithophanes can be in the hundreds of megabytes, which is pretty large for an STL. And then below that you have the width of the lithophane. That is the width from the leftmost tip all the way to the rightmost tip. Below that you have the height, which is how tall the lithophane is. If you were to set it on a table, how high above the table it would go. The frame size is the thickness of the frame. The maximum thickness and the minimum thickness are parameters for the lithophane surface. So if you have a very bright light and a low contrast filament, then you're going to want to increase those values. And also I would recommend using a low contrast filament like Green Gate 3D PETG, which I'll have a link to in the description, or eSun Warm White PLA. So finally below that you have the light clamp inner diameter, and the right value to use there is dependent upon the diameter of your tea light. So now let me just go ahead and show you the diameters of the tea lights that I have looked into, and I'll have links for those in the description below as well. So as you can see here, the outer diameter of the brighter tea light is 29 millimeters. So if you're going to use that tea light with the tree ornament, I would suggest making this clamp diameter maybe half a millimeter smaller than that, or 28.5 millimeters. And if you're going to use this tea light with the spherical ornament, I would make the cylinder inner diameter a little bit larger than that, maybe 29.5 millimeters, because there's no flexure here. And if this inner diameter is smaller than the outer diameter of the tea light, you're going to have problems. It's just not going to fit, and you can't bend anything to make it fit. In order to find the cylinder inner diameter, you have to subtract 2 times the cylinder thickness from the cylinder outer diameter. So here you can see that I've found that the other tea light is just a hair under 36 millimeters. It's 35.75 millimeters. So similarly, if you want to use this tea light with the Christmas tree ornament, then you should make the clamp diameter just a little bit less than that. If you want to use this tea light with the spherical ornament, then you should make the cylinder inner diameter just a little bit greater than that. So here's a decent design for the spherical ornament. And you can see that I've already uploaded the picture I want to use. I have set the lithophane resolution I want. I'm using a sphere diameter of 80 millimeters, an angular height of 90. Because of the aspect ratio of the picture I'm using, I have an angular width of 120. If you want to crop that, you can just click this crop image button right here, and then you can change this to 90, say, and then this cropping rectangle goes down to 90. And I actually like it cropped like that, so I'll just leave it that way. I recommend reducing the maximum thickness just a little bit, because this will only be lit by a tea light. The minimum thickness could be a little bit higher, so I'm going to change that to 0.8. So now we need to make sure that the cylinder's inner diameter is slightly larger than the outer diameter of the tea light. So I'm going to make the inner diameter equal to 36 millimeters. You can see here that I made the outer diameter 46 millimeters and then the thickness 5, because you have a thickness on either side here, so that the inner diameter is actually the outer diameter minus 2 times the cylinder thickness. Now the cylinder height should be about the height of the tea light that you're using. And I don't want there to really be a ledge, so I just made the cylinder ledge outer diameter equal to the cylinder outer diameter, and now you don't see a ledge right there. I do have a little hole at the top so that we can get a hanger in there, and then you just create the STL and print it. Now you might have overhang issues over here. I see some people use supports to fix that. I haven't had overhang issues with it before, so I haven't really run into the problem. If you print slowly with a lot of cooling, that should help, but sometimes you're just going to have plastic printed above air and unconnected to the rest of the lithophane. So that could be a problem. So now let's look at how to assemble these to a light source and a mount. So here is the Christmas tree ornament, and the main features on the ornament are of course the lithophane. Then you have this optional hole here at the top. In the back you have a reflector, and you have a clamp that holds the tea light. So here the tea light flips in here, and then you push it in, and the clamp holds it so that it doesn't fall. And when you turn on the tea light, the reflector reflects the light right back at you. So again, this is kind of hard to see in regular room lighting, but with the lights off, you can tell what the image looks like very well. Now, when you're designing this, you need to be worried about making this clamp diameter such that it actually clamps down on your tea light. And you can see that I have two tea light options here. One is a little bit brighter than the other. This is the brighter one. It has a battery life of about 30 hours. It's turned on and off by twisting the bottom here, and its diameter is different than this one's. This one is not as bright, but it has a battery life of 100 hours. They both cost $12 for a dozen or thereabouts. I'll leave links in the description so you can look at the current price yourself. Now here is the spherical ornament, and I've got to tell you that there are a lot of people in the lithophanemaker.com users group that have actually made better and more advanced spherical ornaments than this, but just out of simplicity I made it like this. And basically there is no clamp at the bottom here, so you just have to put the tea light in there. You can tape it in there, or you can glue it in there with hot glue or whatever kind of glue you want, but that's how it fits in there with this design. And then here at the top you have a hole. You can take a paper clip and you can just bend it and then stick it in the hole, and of course you want it to spring back out, and voila, now you can hang it from a Christmas tree like this with your tea light glued in there. It looks quite good in my opinion. A lot of people in the lithophanemaker.com users group have played with these tools, and they've actually come up with better designs around the tools and ways of using the tools than I have. So I encourage you to go to lithophanemaker.com's users group, but just to save you a little bit of time, I got permission from some of them to share the designs on this YouTube video, and here are a couple of them. They've come up with all kinds of ways of using the tools at lithophanemaker.com to make cool Christmas themed lithophanes and ornaments. And if you want to find out more about that, you should join the group on Facebook and ask around. I think we have a very good group with a lot of innovative ideas and a lot of helpful people. So if you want to do that, I will see you there. So for the Christmas tree lamp, you need the printed lithophane itself, you need a light bulb, and you need a base to put the light bulb in. Now I really like this light bulb because it's very bright and efficient, so it doesn't produce a lot of heat. Also, it's just a cylinder like you see here, so it can slide into the same hole that goes around this base here. So you just, of course, screw the light bulb in, and then you just drop the lamp on top, and it's that simple. If you had a light bulb that was fat, then you'd have a lot more clearance between this feature right here and this outer diameter right here, so it could shake a lot more after it gets down in there, because this feature would have to have an inner diameter that is larger than the outer diameter of whatever bulb you decide to use there. At this point in the video, you should know how to make all of these, mount all of these, get lights for all of these, make the magic happen. If you don't, feel free to ask a question in the comments below. And now is a great time to like and subscribe. I can wait.